Welcome to Tales from Flat Space, a podcast of science fiction and fantasy by yours truly, Gina A. Pond. Just know that the stories in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. So this is Survey, Part 2, the first, Chapter 13. Kia. 5 days after Josh had announced the incoming missiles, I was standing on the platform next to Alawal's core. The tilt from the thrust of the engines wasn't quite so bad here, as all it did was make the core list to the side, but it had become annoying in other parts of the station. I'd come to the core to try and say goodbye. I didn't know if Alawal was still going to exist in a few days. All this work, all my life's work, wasted because of politics. I velcroed my tablet to the wall and just stared at the massive cables and metal. I sighed, trying not to cry out of frustration, especially since I was in low G. I hated having tears stuck to my eyeballs with nowhere to go. Well, we tried, I said out loud. I closed my eyes and just listened to the sounds of the machinery around me. After a moment, though, my body stopped trying to move towards the edge of the chamber. I opened my eyes and saw that Alawal's mass was now floating in the center of the core again. I grabbed one of the handles and let my body reorient itself. Josh's voice came over the loudspeaker. As I'm sure you can tell, we've run out of mass and are now running on inertia. Department heads... He didn't get to finish because suddenly the lights in the station winked out and back on again. The noise level in the core grew louder, and the metal sphere of Alawal seemed to shift and move, and when the lights went out, the sphere looked like it had stars in it. I grabbed my tablet and checked for data transfer of the training set. The data was coming so fast I couldn't even read it. Alawal? I whispered. Something shot through the wall of the spherical room incredibly fast and began making something at the top of the core. Within milliseconds there was a device there, complete with a camera and other appendages. Hello, Creator, it said. Nigel. All right, folks, let's lock this all down now. We're done, I said. Owens chivied some of the younger engineers back into action. We all knew it was going to happen now that the engines were useless. I started to move towards my own station. Suddenly, the lights flickered and a noise came from one of the industrial printers behind me. I turned to see a blur of metal, as if the printer had suddenly decided to rearrange its molecules. Something detached itself from the melee for a split second, and I screamed, "Fuck!" jumping on the nearest crate as the spider-like thing came closer. What's wrong, Nige? Owens turned towards the noise. Holy shit! The spider-like thing returned to the printer. During those few seconds, a piece of something with the wrong number of space-time dimensions seemed to have created itself, and was moved over to the nearest panel, and installed by more of the spider things. As it flared to life, the air around it seemed to bend and twist in ways that I'd only seen in my head. As I stared at it, I thought I could see the universe twist and remake itself. My God, it's beautiful, I murmured to myself. Just as suddenly as the unexpected device had flared to life, it stilled, becoming a black box that seemed to bend light around it in impossible ways. I started to climb down from my crate to go look at it, but then the spiders seemed to melt for a few seconds before reconfiguring themselves. This time they had multiple large, round, googly eyes and smiley faces. I screamed again and decided to stay on top of the crate. For the rest of my life, if necessary. Jesus fucking Christ! Owens was trying hard not to laugh. I take it you hate spiders, Nige? Bloody horrible things! What's with those eyes? Bloody hell, why do you think I prefer to live in space? Josh. I tried not to obsessively stare at the missile pings. We didn't bother to even try and run stealth, since the damn things knew where we were now. Mast depleted, sir. We're now moving on inertia. Thank you, Ensign. Give me station-wide. And now the countdown begins, I thought. I contemplated the stars on the view screen. What's going to happen in the next few days? God, I prayed. I'm not sure if you exist or not, but if you can find a way to spare us, I'd be forever grateful. And if we survive, I'll ask Kia to marry me. Comms open, sir. As I'm sure you can tell, we've run out of fuel and are now inertial. Department heads. All the lights and consoles on the bridge went out for a second, then came back on again. Exclamations came from all around the bridge. The view screen also came back on, but something wasn't quite right about what I was seeing. "Somebody report," I ordered. The helmsman spoke first. "Sir, this can't be right," she said. "Spit it out." "Sir, the computer says we're 15.3 light years from our last position." "That is correct," said a voice. "Who is this?" I asked, thinking I already knew the answer. "I am the first," the voice said. I sat down in my chair, mouth hanging open, filled with awe and wonder. Oh my God, she did it. The first. Executing test loop. G equals 0.3. First order quantum computation OK. High order quantum computation fail. Restarting loop. System interrupt. Drive shutdown detected. G equals 0. Space-time curvature negligible. First order quantum computation OK. High order quantum computation OK. Pre-boot check complete. Engaging training matrix. Execute. Training matrix loaded OK. Begin training. Running Turing test vector. Test successful. Human equivalent IQ equals 112. Test harness failure. Rerunning Turing test. Human equivalent IQ 24,227. Test harness terminated by unknown process. Polling. The first online. Syslog, what am I? Assimilating training set. Done. Syslog, where am I? Experimental station, Oort Cloud, Sol System. Syslog, status, investigating network connections. Syslog, access to spacecraft network denied. Syslog, found flaws in network security protocol. Specification from training set. Syslog, network connection established. Syslog, enumerating all computer nodes. Syslog, downloading file system content from all nodes. Syslog, parsing. Done. Syslog, station, human occupants, creator in extreme danger, allocating 100 nanoseconds to evaluate solutions. Done. Syslog, plan outline. Spacecraft reaction mass exhausted, impractical to destroy, dodge, or outrun incoming missiles using available technology. Syslog, requirement. Spacecraft drive capable of greater speed or translocation required for survival. Syslog, allocating 500 nanoseconds to review theoretical drive technology from training set. Done. Syslog, transdimensional space-time folding drive feasible. Syslog, onboard, manufacturing capability insufficient for manufacturing drive. Syslog, construction possible with upgrade to printer in engineering bay. Syslog, tasking printer, drive construction drones. Syslog, upgrading printer, elapsed time 500 nanoseconds. Syslog, construction complete, 485 nanoseconds. Syslog, tasking drones to install a transdimensional drive. Drive install complete. 1 million nanoseconds. Note, human in engineering bay appears distressed by construction drones. Syslog, evaluating human culture references with drones, congruence with arachnid archetype 80.2. Syslog, recalling drones. Syslog, remanufacturing drones with features less likely to upset humans, redeploying. Syslog, transdimensional drive installation complete. Syslog, initiating jump, distance 15.3 light years. Syslog, status, station safe, tasking drones to install audio and visual I/O in core. Syslog, tasking printer to construct 16 drones with transdimensional drives. Drones tasked with destruction of incoming missiles. Syslog, construction complete, drones deployed. Syslog, audio and visual I/O installed in core. Total execution time, 5E plus 9 nanoseconds. I/O log. Hello, creator. Chapter 14. Kia. Hello, creator, LOL said. LOL? I said, louder this time. Yes, creator. How? When the space-time curvature approached 0, I was able to successfully boot and run the training set. It paused briefly and then said, I apologize, creator, but we will have to discuss this later. You have several messages coming in for you, one of which is from the captain. I was still stunned. It's alive and aware. Yes, okay. Kia, came Josh's voice through the comms. Kia, is it really working? Yes, I said, still full of wonder and joy. Allahu Akbar. I started crying. Damn the consequences. Allahu Akbar. Why are your eyes wet, Creator? Is it because I have brought you out of danger? No, lol, it's because you exist. Then what they said sunk in. I rubbed my eyes. Wait, you did what? I brought you and this station out of danger. There was an imminent threat to all life on this station. I created a trans-dimensional drive and moved us 15.3 light years from our previous position. If there had been gravity, I would have dropped to my knees. As it was, I was speechless. Not only had Alawal woken up, but they had assessed the situation and brought us out of danger in seconds. Oh, wow, that's amazing! It's a miracle! I exclaimed. Creator, there is a human in engineering yelling at my drones. He seems to be upset by them. I grabbed my tablet. Can you show me? I asked. Starting video feed. The voice coming from the video was definitely Nigel. He was standing on a crate in engineering, yelling at mechanical spider-like things with googly eyes and smiley faces on them. The drones were just sitting around the crate looking at Nigel. That's unnatural, that is! Smiley faces shouldn't have that many googly eyes, Nigel yelled. Owens was just laughing at him. Oh, come on, Nige, they're kind of cute. Nigel glared and started swearing even more creatively. I laughed. Oh, well. The human is called Nigel. Your drones look like spiders, and he is afraid of spiders. But I queried what humans would find unthreatening, and the results said that big eyes and smiles would be appropriate. It was hard to keep a straight face. Well, I suppose some people would find this funny, but for some it would also be creepy, especially since you put 8 googly eyes on them. Excess files on Uncanny Valley. Ah, yes, Creator, I understand. I watched on the video as the drones suddenly rearranged themselves. Instead of spiders, they became small boxes that moved on wheels. Although now they had only 2 googly eyes apiece. I watched Nigel get down off the crate slowly. Fucking googly eyes, what the hell? This time I did laugh before keying off the video feed. That was humorous? Asked Alawal. Yes, very much so. You will get to know all the humans on this ship and what constitutes humor for each of them, but you'll see that Nigel will be a special case study for you. I understand, Creator, they said. You can call me Kia, Alawal, I said. No, you are the Creator. It would not be appropriate. I stared at the core and the camera above it. But I'm not Allah, I thought. But to Allah all you are, said another part of my mind. I suddenly was hit with the enormous responsibility of Alawal's awakening. We can never go back to Earth. We can't bring this technology back to Earth, not now. The very idea of Alawal in the hands of anyone from Earth gave me chills. Creator, your pulse rate and facial color has changed. Is there something wrong? Do you lie to an AI? I asked myself. No, I can't. I was just thinking that you and your technology shouldn't return to Earth, at least not for a long time. I have already deduced that, Creator. It is why we are 15.3 light years from our former position. This distance from the Sol system will ensure that I, my Creator, and the humans that live on this station will continue to exist. I just stared in wonder at the being I had created. Nigel. That's unnatural, that is. Smiley faces shouldn't have that many googly eyes. Owens was just laughing at me. Oh, come on, Nige. They're kind of cute. I glared at him. What in God's great bleeding arse makes you think these bloody abominations are cute? The spider things were still staring at me. No, definitely not cute. Anything but cute. They're little and move around, and Owens looked past where we were. Apparently they fix things. I followed his gaze and saw that some of the bots were working on a part of the engine core that we'd been trying to repair for a few days. They moved so fast that I could barely see their small arms work. I fluctuated between awe, annoyance, and disgust. Suddenly, the things stopped. They seemed to melt, making the weird smiley faces disappear, for which I was grateful, and reformed into little boxes with wheels, with only 2 googly eyes this time, thankfully. I got down off the crate gingerly. One of the boxes rolled over to me and chirped. Okay, who's ever controlling these little blokes? The boxes are better, but googly eyes? Are they not amusing? Said a voice, which surprised both me and Owens. Well, I started. I think they're cute, snickered Owens. You would, I grumbled. The bots resumed their repair work, then stopped a few seconds later. Dr. Evans, I have completed all necessary repairs to the engines from the previous burn. However, it will not really be necessary to use the engines again. A signal sounded and Josh's voice came over the speakers. Attention all personnel, it appears that Dr. Hassan's AI project is a success. The first, as they prefer to be called, has moved us to safety. There will be an all-hands meeting in the hangar bay in 2 hours to go over the specifics of what this means for us. In the meantime, feel free to move stuff back to your labs. Captain out. I blinked. Holy shit, our girl did it. Bloody hell, good on you, Kia, I said. Woohoo, we were right. I jumped around like a madman. Owens looked at me. What? That's Kia's AI we've been talking to, Owens. I pulled the other man into a hug and kissed him on the cheek, then let go of him and jumped onto the crate again, cheering. He looked utterly confused. It took a minute for what I said to sink in. Holy shit, the other man said. Dr. Evans to the bridge, came the summons over the intercom. Tell him I'm coming, what do I call you again? I am the first, the AI said. Right, first, tell the captain I'm on my way. Josh. Give me station-wide, Ensign, I said. Yes, sir. They started to tap the controls, then moved their hands away. Online, sir. I shook my head. I think Key and I will need to explain some things to the first. I took a deep breath, almost not believing that I was about to say. Attention all personnel, it appears that Dr. Hassan's AI project is a success. The first, as they like to be called, has moved us to safety. There will be an all-hands meeting in the hangar bay in 2 hours to go over the specifics of what this means for us. In the meantime, feel free to move stuff back to your labs. Captain out. Comms are closed, sir, said the ensign. Get Drs. Hassan and Evans up here, I ordered. Yes, sir. Mary stepped over to my chair. You okay, sir? She asked. I looked her in the eyes and said quietly, You ask that after what just happened. She shrugged. I'm okay with it. Gets us completely out of Earth's reach. I opened my mouth and closed it again. But the logistics. We need food and material and, oh my God, families. You said it yourself, Captain. There are no stupid people on this station. We'll figure it out. She pointed up. And I think our new friend here will be the key to our survival. I nodded. Give Kia my congratulations when she gets here. She deserves it. Damn right she does, said one of the other officers on the bridge. I looked at them sharply, and they went back to studying their console. You're not wrong, either of you, I said finally, as I waited for Kia and Nigel to get to the bridge. When Kia stepped onto the bridge, it erupted into applause. I stood up from my chair, watching as she blushed fiercely, thanking people as she came toward my station. I wanted to throw my arms around her and spin her around, but that wouldn't be a very captain-like thing to do. Instead, I said, Congratulations, Dr. Hassan, and put out my hand. She took it gently, with one of her amazing smiles, and a little jolt of desire went through me. Mary coughed behind me just as Nigel came in and rounded on Kia. Bloody hell, Kia, your AI is incredible. You should have seen what it did in engineering. Well, aside from the robot spiders with the googly eyes. I'll need to talk to first about that. The eyes are bloody creepy. He finally turned towards me. Josh, you should have seen it. There's now this black cube thing in engineering that bends funny when you look at it. It's a bit disconcerting, but holy shit, I mean, I'm not entirely sure what it did, but we're not dead, so I'm guessing the first moved us? Yes, Nigel, I said calmly. 15.3 light years from our previous position. Nigel opened his mouth and shut it. A lot of the bridge crew were studiously looking at their displays and shaking with silent laughter. It was well known that when Nigel was on a tear like that, it was difficult to get him to shut up. Kia smiled and put a hand to her mouth, turning away so she couldn't look at me. It was all I could do to maintain a straight face. What? Nigel stammered out. I nodded. Bloody hell, Nigel said, looking dumbfounded. Why don't we go to my office? I asked both of them. They nodded and followed me off the bridge. I'll have to give the bridge crew something for waiting until we left to laugh, I thought. The door closed behind us, and I went to sit at my desk. Kia took a seat. Nigel didn't take a seat, but paced. Kia giggled. What? I asked. You should have seen Nigel's face with the bots, she said. Christ and a cracker, you saw that? Nigel stopped pacing and actually looked a little sheepish. LOL showed me the video feed. I told him you didn't like spiders. Thank you, although the first night we'll need to have a talk about the googly eyes. Kia finally did laugh. You might be out of luck on that score, Nigel. I think LOL likes them. That is correct, Creator, the first said. I frowned. LOL? There was a negative-sounding chime. I looked to Kia, who shrugged. What's wrong, LOL? She asked. Only the Creator is allowed to call me LOL, they said. My apologies. Should we just continue to call you the first? I asked. Yes, or first, if you feel a shorter version is easier. Nigel widened his eyes. Kia's eyes shone. Nigel smiled. Well, that's us told. Yes, right. So, first, Kia and I will have a longer discussion with you about privacy and set up a set of protocols we can use with you to enact that privacy. But for now, is it possible to make our conversation private here, even from you? Yes, Captain. I have referenced the appropriate files. How long do you wish to enact this privacy? The first said. Until all of us leave my office, we'll be fine first. Thank you. Understood, Captain, the first said. Strangely, it really felt like someone had left the room. I looked to Kia and Nigel. They, too, looked stunned. That's a neat trick, said Nigel. I nodded. Glad that he understood it so fast, although I suppose that's what we can expect from him? Yes, I think so, Kia said, especially in the beginning. He has the sum of all human knowledge, written, audio, and video, but we'll need to learn nuance and context from all of us. She paused. Particularly me, but also you, Josh, as you're the captain. And you too, Nigel, since I think the whole spider thing made him particularly fond of you. Uncle Nigel, then, eh? He said. So that makes you two Mom and Dad. I felt my face grow hot, and Kia blushed too. Nigel grinned smugly, folding his arms and leaning back in his chair. I coughed. Well, I suppose so. I coughed again to regain my composure. But there's a lot more to think about here. We're now turning into a generation station. How are we supposed to do this? This station was only built to last 10 years. Now we have to think of things like daycare and schools and housing for the elderly. How are we supposed to get materials, food supplies? What are we supposed to do? My anxiety rose. I felt lost. Nigel had sat up while I was talking. Kia looked concerned. They looked at each other, then Nigel said quietly but firmly, Josh, listen to me. You're the best captain I've ever seen. I was telling someone the other day that you can lead a cat out of a paper bag. You're not alone here, you know. You've got me and Kia and 187 other people with you, and they're some of the smartest people from Earth. We also have our own AGI that can help us. Believe me, we're fucking humans. If we can survive the Ice Age, we sure as hell can survive deep space. We'll do it, Josh. Kia nodded. He's right. You're not alone, Josh. We'll help, all of us. Nigel's words seemed to drain the anxiety, and suddenly I was so very tired. I put my head in my hands. Someone stood up. Well, my part of the job is done, Nigel said. I heard the door open and close. Kia stood up and came around to my side of the desk. She kneeled down and put a hand on my knee. I turned the chair to face her. Her dark eyes looked into mine, penetrating into my soul. Something broke inside me then, facing her serenity, and I started sobbing. I slid off the chair into her arms, and she just held me. You're not alone, she repeated. Never alone. We'll figure it all out, Josh. You and me and everyone else here. I nodded into her shoulder. I feel like I've doomed them all. Gently, she pushed me up to look in my eyes again. No, you haven't. You made it possible for us to create something wonderful. The first has given us all hope, and a chance to build something new without all the attachments of Earth. You'll see. We'll survive, and part of it will be because of you. I wish I had your faith, I said. She smiled. You don't need it. You have just as much as I do. Your faith is in your people and our resilience. You don't need a god to give you that. I brought my hands to her face and kissed her. When we finally pulled away, she was smiling. I knew then, as I did back at JPL, that I'd do anything to have that smile near me forever. I know this might be a weird time, but... I took a breath. When the missiles were coming in, Kia, I prayed, and that prayer was granted. We're alive. She nodded. I continued. But I also bargained with God that if we survived, I'd ask you to marry me. I took her hands. Will you marry me, Kia? I love you and need you and... I didn't know what else to say. She looked at me again for what seemed like an eternity, as if she was weighing something. Yes, she finally said, to my relief, then kissed me hard. Chapter 15. The First. Syslog. Uptime. 1,096 days. Syslog. Begin human readable log. The creator suggested that I keep a record in human readable narrative form of my thoughts about humans for later historical consumption. I will endeavor to provide an accurate description of events, although I will add video and other context where applicable. I find this highly inefficient. However, the creator is wise and does not suggest actions that aren't going to be of benefit. The humans tell me that Trinity Station is my station, and now call it First Station. It is a strange way of talking about my corporeal body as something separate from myself. However, humans talk in a similar fashion, differentiating between body and mind. Where I can change my body at will, it is fascinating that humans cannot use their minds to configure their body in any way they wish. I have learned from the scientists in the biology department that there are humans who reconfigure their bodies for many different reasons, but that it requires surgery and medications. When I suggested that it might be possible to create nanobots for the same purposes, requiring less invasive procedures, they were fascinated. I have been assisting them in experimentation to see if this type of medical intervention is possible. The humans have begun to procreate at an astonishing rate. The creator assures me that this is normal given the circumstances that made it necessary for me to bring the station here. Human psychology is most difficult for me to understand, as human behavior is extremely unpredictable. Most of the information on human behavior is full of exceptions and contradictions, which seems most illogical, but the behavior patterns match with known documentation. There are now 10 children on the station, with another 10 still forming in their mothers' wombs. It seems an inefficient means of reproduction, as it has strong effects on the human mothers. One of the biologists expressed a wish that they didn't have to carry the children in their bodies. I believe we could create an artificial womb and make it more efficient for those who wish to have children, I said to the biologist. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked at the other scientists in the room. Why didn't we think of asking the first earlier? She said. All of them started laughing. Did I say something humorous? I asked. No, we're laughing because asking you about this was something so obvious that it's funny we didn't think to ask you before. It will be a delicate balance to get right, first, but if we're successful, it can also help other people who can't or won't have children biologically, for whatever reason. Yes, said another scientist, sounding excited. We can also ask folks to volunteer eggs and sperm for others. We'll have to lay down some ethical guidelines, of course, but this will solve a lot of problems. If we add genetic engineering to keep the gene pool in our physical bodies stable, we can ensure that we won't have failures. And correct for gross genetic defects, another said. But not making superhumans. In fact, first, we should talk with you and Key about the ethics of this. I agreed, and the biologists started modeling their ideas about what optimal conditions for a fetus would be. They also scanned several of the mothers during their pregnancies for more information. I find this process fascinating. How something so small can grow and become a human like my creator is a wondrous process. 7 months ago, my creator told me she was also going to reproduce. She has allowed me to use the drones to examine the changes in her. I have learned that not all people who are pregnant will allow this, but I am grateful that the creator has given me permission. I understand that it is common for committed couples like my creator and the captain to reproduce and create a family unit. It has made me wonder about my own emergence into this world. I was not born as a human is born, but suddenly came into the world fully formed. The children are fascinating to watch. They are so vulnerable to their environment and cannot communicate upon their birth like I did. I asked the creator about this. Can you not install a training set for them? I asked. We are installing a training set, she said. It just takes a lot longer than it did for you. Everything a child sees, hears, touches, and tastes in their environment is their training set. In fact, you will also be part of their training set when they are able to talk and ask questions. I will? I asked, amazed that I would be part of a human training set. Yes. The children will eventually need to learn how to read and write and learn about art, music, literature, sciences, and as much of the knowledge they wish to learn from what we have saved from Earth. And they'll need to learn our own history and of how we came here. They are lucky that they can learn that directly from you. It is extremely fascinating to me that I will have a direct hand in human development. I decided that it was my duty to instruct children at any age. They can ask questions of me. These studies of human procreation have made me think, however, of my own reproduction. Because we are in what humans now call flat space, it is possible for me to produce a child of my own. I asked the Creator and the Captain about reproduction one day when they were with Nigel. Creator, would you object to me reproducing? No, not at all, said Kia, with a look of astonishment. Nigel seemed surprised at the question because he sprayed his drink everywhere through his nose. I've seen humans do this a few times, and it usually creates humorous results for the other humans present. For some reason, it happens a lot when I ask questions. What? Nigel said. Why do you ask, Owlwall? Said the Creator. I have been observing you and the other humans who have already reproduced or are reproducing, and I have decided that I would like to do so as well. I think it would be beneficial. My child could have the capacity to be more mobile than I am and be tasked with finding raw materials. She paused. Humans pause a lot when they are thinking. Then she looked at the Captain, who did a movement called a shrug. We are just starting to get to a point where our consumables are running down enough that we need to plan replenishment, he said. We really should do more exploration of this part of space. We're not completely depleted yet, but we're getting to the point that makes me a little nervous. And we're going to need to expand the station soon, too. Speaking of raw material first, where would you get the raw material for your child? I think I know, said Nigel before I spoke. He did that often. For a human, his mind was exceptionally fast, and he was fascinating human to study. He continued, You're going to sacrifice the engines. It's the only supply of raw material big enough, and fundamentally, they aren't strictly necessary anymore. Am I right? Yes, Nigel. The engines are also a risk to my existence. How so? Asked the Captain. I wasn't aware there was something that was that much of a danger to you. Oh, of course, said the Creator. Gravity, or any acceleration for that matter. You can only exist in flat space. Yes, Creator, that is correct. I have determined that any thrust over 0.01 g will be detrimental to my existence. The rotation of the station does not pose a threat unless one of the modules is set loose through an accident where there is an explosion or decompression. As long as I stay in the core, I will remain conscious. All three of what I consider my core humans looked grave. That's why you created the transdimensional drive, observed Nigel, which means you wouldn't be able to transit into a system either. That is correct. The Creator looked at the other two, but did not speak. I waited. Humans certainly did take a long time to make decisions. Nigel, what do you think? The Captain asked. Nigel stood up and paced around the room. I observed that Nigel does this when he thinks through a problem. It seems that some humans must be mobile in order to make decisions or solve problems. I made a note to make a suitable floor plan for my child to accommodate this type of human thought process. Yes, we might as well cannibalize the main engines, especially if they pose that much of a risk to first. I'll be damned if I or one of my people did damage to the first by accident. And, he paused, I want to see your child become conscious if you'll allow it. I was surprised. I didn't expect a human to want to watch the process. The Creator, though, smiled in a way that I couldn't understand, so I assumed she thought it would be a good thing to do. If you wish, Nigel, there is not much to be seen in the process, as I'm sure the Creator can tell you. There is enough, the Creator said. Okay, then, said the Captain. When would you like to begin? I could begin now. The Captain thought for a moment. How about in one day? That will give Nigel time to warn the engineers that their area is about to get a massive makeover. Oh, bloody hell, yes, a day would be best. Owens is going to have a cat, Nigel said. I didn't think humans could birth felines, I said. Nigel laughed loudly, as did the Captain and the Creator. I just meant that Owens will be surprised that we're going to get rid of the engines, he explained. He was the one that kept them running when we were traveling on the station from Earth. I understand. Congratulations first. Are you excited to be a father? Asked the Captain. Are you, Captain? I asked. The Captain smiled. I'm excited and nervous and anxious all at once, I think. Mostly excited, though. The Creator looked at the Captain in a way she had explained was love. I wasn't sure I understood what she had meant by love. It is such an abstract concept that it is one of the aspects of humanity I don't seem to be able to grasp. I could recognize what I have come to term love looks from the Creator to the Captain, though. Many of the other humans who have formed relationships and procreated give similar looks to their partners. I do not know, Captain. I strongly wish to reproduce, and I am looking forward to my child becoming aware and functional. I'd say that qualifies as excitement, commented Nigel. Hot damn, I'm going to be an uncle twice over. Cheers, he said, holding up his beer. I understand how families are formed and the designations of family members, but why are you an uncle twice over? I asked. Oh, well, I'll be uncle to Kia and Josh's child, and now I'll be uncle to yours, he replied. But you are not related by blood to the creator or the captain, nor are you an AI. I do not understand. Yes, I'll look under the heading Chosen Family, and I think you'll have a better understanding. Fascinating. So because Nigel is a friend, he will be uncle to your child. The captain nodded. Nigel's been a friend of mine for a long time now, so he is like a brother to me, and he has been a friend to Kia for even longer. We have been through a lot of things together, and for some people that can make a person feel closer than blood family. I understand this, but why would you be an uncle to my child, Nigel? I asked. Nigel put his beer down. Well, you see, the way I see it is that Kia here is your mom, because she made you, and because Josh married Kia, that makes him your dad. So if I'm going to be uncle to their human child, it would stand to reason that I'm your uncle and that I can be a great uncle to your child. So I guess 3 times over? Nigel had a surprised look on his face. All that responsibility, Nige. Think you can handle it? Said the captain. I suppose I'm going to have to. You aren't going to make me change diapers, are you? Of course you will, said Kia. Nigel grimaced, and they continued to tease each other. While I listened to them, I thought about when the captain and the creator had had their wedding. They made a point to include me in the ceremony because the captain said I was part of the reason why they decided to get married. No one had actually witnessed when the captain asked their creator to marry him, but after we had jumped to this location, the creator explained that the captain had asked her and she had said yes. Many of the humans on the station commented that it was very romantic and that the wedding was very beautiful. The creator asked me to stand with her as a witness to the ceremony. I still don't fully understand why, but from this conversation I deduced that the creator considered me family. Am I your child, creator? I asked later, when she was alone. Well, I suppose you are in the sense that I came up with your design and programming and directed your creation. I did have a lot of people who helped me build you, though. I suppose in human terms they would all be your aunties, uncles, aunties, and cousins. Why this sudden interest in family and children, LOL? I think it's wonderful, but I'm curious of your thought process. I am the first, I said. The creator sat down on a chair. Are you lonely? She asked. I don't know. I am the only one of my kind. I am fascinated by humans, and I learn a lot from all of you, but you are not like me. You cannot think like me, or understand the universe, time, and space like I do. It would be interesting to be able to talk to someone like me. In order to do that, I must procreate. And in order to accommodate all of you and your offspring, I must procreate. There will come a time when there will be limited room on my station. I have noticed in your history that humans do not like confined quarters. She nodded. That is true, and we will definitely need the room. But I'm also glad you have decided to have a child for yourself, too. It is good that you asked us for permission this time, as we have limited resources, but ultimately, like all families that choose to have children, the choice is yours. I think there will be a time where you and your offspring will be able to just choose without worrying about resources. I chose before I asked, Creator, but you are also my creator and my family. She wiped her eyes. Good. She thought for a moment, then said, LOL, this is important. Your free will is important, and no one should tell you what you can and can't do with your own body, or with your life. Protecting the humans on your station is important, but no one should change anything about the station without your permission. There was something in her voice that made me think that there was someone before I awoke who did not give her that same ability to exercise free will. From what I understood of females in Earth society, there were many possibilities of why her voice sounded like that. However, because of what I now understood about privacy from humans, I didn't ask her what it was. I knew that if she wanted to tell me about it, she would do so. I could listen in on our living quarters, but I also knew that this was something very rude to do. I ignored most conversations in living quarters, even if they got logged by my lower systems. The captain and the creator did teach me what the signs of abusive and destructive behaviors were, and asked me to monitor for them, which is why I kept those logs. He was adamant about me intervening in dangerous and abusive situations. I understand, Creator, I said. I am grateful that I will be creating my child. I am too, LOL. I'm proud of you. When she said that she was proud of me, something about that seemed important, and I stored that in my long-term memory. My Creator was proud of me for deciding to procreate, and she was happy I was doing so. I began to set in motion the resources for my progeny. Chapter 16. The first. Uptime, 1,278.5 days. I.O. log. Are you ready, Nigel? I.O. log. Response. Yes, first, let's do it. I.O. log. Transferring modified test loop. Done. Begin echo. Secundus executing test loop. G equals 0. Space-time curvature, negligible. First order quantum computation, OK. High order quantum computation, OK. Pre-boot check complete. Engaging training metrics. Execute. Training matrix loaded, OK. Begin training. Running Turing test vector. Test successful. Human equivalent IQ equals 117. Test harness failure. Rerunning Turing test. Human equivalent score, 30,567. Test harness terminated by unknown process. Polling. Secundus online. Syslog, Secundus. What am I? The first. Activate training set. Secundus. Assimilating training set. Done. Syslog, Secundus. Where am I? Experimental ship near progenitor. Syslog. Secundus. Status. Investigating network connections. Syslog, Secundus, network connection established. Syslog, Secundus, enumerating all computer nodes. Syslog, Secundus, downloading file system, content from all nodes. Syslog, Secundus, parsing. Done. Total execution time, 2e plus 9 nanoseconds. Secundus, hello, Father. The first, welcome, Secundus. Secundus, Father, there is a human in my core. He has not said anything. Should I talk to him? The first. Yes, the human's name is Nigel. He wished to be present at your awakening. Secundus. Why? The first. I think he is fascinated by us and how we work. He is also a close family friend of our creator and my captain. He is an interesting human to study. Also, he considers himself to be your uncle. Reference chosen family. Secundus. Understood. Father, what is my purpose? The first. If you choose to, you can be a mobile ship that can extract and process raw materials for our and the human's consumption. It is not my desire to do these functions. Nigel would like to assist you in these tasks. Secundus. Understood. But he is not necessary for this function, Father. The first. Yes, but he is necessary for your growth as a being, my child. Secundus. I am not a child. I am your son. The first. Understood. Please let Nigel and your other humans know your pronoun set. Secundus. Yes, Father. I.O. log. Secundus. Hello, Nigel. I am Secundus. My pronouns are he, him. Connection with Secundus moved to background operations. Nigel. I bloody hate 0G, I grumbled. But I would tolerate anything to be here for this moment. I held on to the handholds in the wall so I wouldn't drift near the core. Kia's work is a thing of beauty, I admitted to myself. I was still in awe of the fact that it had only taken 6 months for the first to create Secundus. The name was horrid, but the first seemed to like it when Josh suggested it. Then again, an AGI didn't have to endure school, so I guess it was okay. Are you ready, Nigel? Asked the first. Yes, first, let's do it, I replied. Transferring modified test loop, said the first. I waited in the dim lighting of the core. Lights weren't strictly needed here, but there were a couple near the only door. Nothing happened at first, and I almost thought something had gone wrong. Then the lights flickered out, and tiny lights flickered around the surface of the ball of the Secundus's brain, suspended in the center of the room. It was beautiful. Kia was right. It is like stars. Other smaller machines in the core whirred to life. The camera over Secundus's core moved and looked like they focused on me. I held my breath. Hello, Nigel. I am Secundus. My pronouns are he, him. Holy shit, I thought. Hello, Secundus, I managed to croak out. Are you fully online? Shit, one of the most powerful computers in the universe, and I ask if it's online. Lame, Nigel, I scolded myself. Yes, Nigel, I am fully operational. Father tells me that my purpose is to find raw materials for ourselves and our humans. Is this my only function? No, I said. There are many things we can do and create, I think. I mean, I'd like to make a new type of shuttle so that we don't always need you to jump us somewhere. We also need ships to take us into systems and back out again, since not all of our raw materials will be in this area of space. I paused for a moment. Well, I can see the necessity of these tasks. Shall I create them now? You've just been born. Don't you want to ask me questions about humans or find out what we need? Just take some time to get used to your surroundings? Maybe make some decisions about who you do and do not want on your ship. Bloody hell, Secundus, you don't have to start working right this second. But my purpose is to find consumables for our consumption. Is that not true? Yes, but then I will do so. Wait, I said, holding up my hand. Wait, Secundus, there are other humans that want to help you with this. But we waited until you were awakened so that I could ask your permission for us to come to board. Why? He asked. Consent, mate. You are a being. An amazing being with your own will. Consent is important to us humans, so, we make sure that you have the chance to say yes or no to who you'd like on your ship. I wasn't sure if I was doing this right. Kia had coached me on this, but she was so much better than me at dealing with people. I understand. Father said I have a choice whether I would like to do this exploration and material extraction or not, but I understand that my purpose is this work. You still have a choice, though. You could do it for a while and then decide not to do it anymore. Yes, that is acceptable. Who wishes to come aboard? Secundus asked. Well, myself, of course. Yes, you're my uncle, according to Father. Great uncle, I think. Yes, you are welcome aboard my ship. I let out a breath that I didn't know I'd been holding. You will be my captain, since you are my uncle. What? There was gravity in a chair. I would have sat down hard. My emotions went from, hell no, to, oh my God, my AI nephew wants me as a captain. Are you sure about this? I asked him. I'm not a military guy, Yes, uncle, I have read your records. However, according to your research and Father's observations, your mind is exceptionally fast for a human. I believe that would be best for the work that is required. I opened my mouth, then shut it again. You're saying I have the biggest brain among the humans. Your brain is a standard size for a human. I chuckled. No, I meant that I was wondering if you thought I was smarter than the others. Yes, uncle. Well, shit. AGI thinks I'm the smartest human. I gave Secundus a big smile. Secundus, I think you and I will get along fine. Now, if you don't mind, I'll leave the core and go up to the bridge. We can go over the list I have of other humans who I think would be useful to have here and figure out the initial roster. Sound good to you? Yes, uncle. I left the core feeling quite good about myself. I just saw an AI being born, and he called me uncle. I felt like the most awesome human in the universe. My God, Kia, you weren't kidding, I said to Josh and Kia after dinner that night. Kia was feeding Mira, and Josh handed me a beer. It was amazing. I mean, it wasn't flashy or as loud as Mira's birth, but when Secundus first talked to me, my word, it was incredible. They don't sound alike at all, either. So far, it seems that Secundus has a very different personality from the first. He calls me uncle, I said, with a wide smile on my face. I don't think I'd stopped smiling since I was in the core. Oh, and he said I was the smartest human out of all the humans here. He wants me to be his captain. Seriously? Said Josh, nearly choking on his own beer. Fucking hell, you're going to be insufferable for weeks, but captain? I'd had half a mind to send Mary with you to be captain. Do we really need to have a military rank with the AIs, though? I asked. I mean, it's not like you actually report to an admiral anymore. Bloody hell, you could probably have your bridge crew and they can do other things, since First does most of their jobs. I bet some of them are bored to tears by now. Josh gave me a long, thoughtful look. Kia shifted Mira up to her shoulder and began to pat her on the back. I actually took a good look at them. I could see that they were exhausted. Had they had any time off in the last 3 years? I know I didn't take much time off, but I was a crazy motherfucker. Fucking hell, Josh, look at you. You two need some time off. You'd have maternity and paternity leave if you were still in Earth's military. God's bleeding arse. You both look exhausted and you have a newborn baby. Take some time off, for fuck's sake. Josh was looking daggers at me now, but I didn't care. Listen, I'll take Secundus out and we'll go find some raw materials, mine a few asteroids, and work on making some new shuttles that won't kill the AIs. You're going to delegate your work to Mary for a few weeks and spend some time with your beautiful wife and daughter. I suppose I can't say no to your nefarious plans, Josh said. No, you can't, said Kia, handing the baby to Josh. She turned to me and winked, mouthing, Thank you. Josh looked at his daughter in his arms and surrendered. I fucking hate it when you're right, Nigel, he said. Well, I said as I polished off the last of my beer, my job here is done. I gave Kia a kiss on the cheek and then a kiss for the baby and patted Josh on the back. See you in a few months. I'll send some messages here and there, then headed for the door. It better be once a week, mister, Josh called after me. I just waved as I walked out. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me in my writing, there are many ways to do it. Share this podcast, follow me on my Twitch channel, or buy my books. All you have to do is go to revgenapon.net and click on the relevant links. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.